So behind me you see Toyota RAV4. What are we doing to it? We're putting speakers. We've actually already worked on this car. We put an amp and sub in it. Before we get started, I want to show you something funny. The reason why you guys have like cockroaches and ant stuff in your car is for things like this. Fernando, could you unveil the box for me? Okay. Who doesn't eat their crust? Crust is good. Do you like your crust?
No.
You don't eat crust?
Yeah, but I'm okay.
McDonald's bag, a 2 liter of Sprite. Oh, wheat thins. Wheat thins are good for Sunday, you know, like when you're doing the cheese and sausage thing. Why would you have a bag of them in your car? Weird. So what we're doing in this thing is we're putting in 6 new speakers, got factory components. We're gonna replace those with some Kenwood Excellons. We're gonna put some coaxials in the rear. Let's get started. Toyotas just make it a lot of fun. As you can see right here, these are rivets. They like to rivet in their speakers. So these are the rear door speakers, and these are the front door speakers. They're all riveted in. And the tweeter is mounted to this giant thing here. The one thing to keep in mind is you see these 4 wires coming in. What it does is it actually loops through the tweeter and out to the mid-range. You want to make sure that you keep all 4 wires connected when you're doing one of these, otherwise it's not all gonna play. So these are threaded rivets. Where the striped lines are, those are the crush zone. And then they have like a bolt inside of them that allows you to put a screw in. So what they do is they twist onto this tool here, and then you drill a hole, in this case where the rivet was. You put this in the hole, make it flush, and then you just crush these, and then you loosen it up a little bit. This will unscrew. Then you can go ahead and screw in a regular bolt like this and attach your speaker. Now we're gonna go ahead and do this to all the others, and Fernando's gonna do it over on his side. All right, so these are the speakers we're gonna put in the front door. These are the KFC XP 184Cs. This is a 7-inch component. Let's go ahead and get it out of the box. So in the box, it comes with this stuff here. This is awesome. These are like fast rings that Kenwood gives you. So it comes with the foam so that you can wrap it around the speaker and marriage it up with the door panel. So that's really cool. It comes with these, so if you're doing a 6x9 and you want to put this 7-inch in it, this is the big 7-inch speaker that it comes with. Pretty nice. And then it also comes with 2 of these. Now what these are used for, this full thing is the Toyota mount if you're doing like the big Toyota, and then you can break off different parts here, and like there's a GM here, there's a Chrysler in here, and then there's the other style Toyota mount, the pyramid style like we have there going in this. These are really awesome universal brackets, and also it spaces the door out a 1/2 inch. Now if you're just gonna put these in a 6.5 location, all you have to do is break all this off and just get to this little spacer, and then you can mount this onto the 6-inch and then mount the 7-inch on top of it. They also give you foam for the back side of the speakers, as well as these cool plastic mounts. And then of course you get 2 tweeters, which come in this fisheye mount that if you want you can pull the tweeter out. Come with the back brace for the fisheye mount, and then they come with the tweeter crossovers right here. So the one thing about this is they're non-variable tweeter crossovers, meaning they're just gonna be fixed at 0. They don't have a negative setting available for these. And they give you some little pigtails for the mid-range if you want it. And of course screws and tweeter mounts also. So like if you're gonna pull the tweeter out of this gray mount here, you can just mount them into this guy here. It comes with front mounts and back mounts. Let's take a look at the coax. So for the rear door, we're going with the KFC X 183Cs. So this is the coaxial version. So there again, these come with the same brackets for the universal doors, as well as the 6x9. They come with the same foam for both. Bag of screws, as well as the coax. So the car has 4 of these speakers in them. So what we want to do is compare them up to this mount here and just kind of break off what we don't need. Now this top one here is the tricky one. This is real easy to break. Definitely take caution when you're doing these. You just don't want to go in here and manhandle this top one. All right, we're good to go. Now if you'll notice there's these little grooves right here, this little groove. That's so that you can run the wire over that if you need to, because a lot of the times the Toyota wiring is on the outside of the speaker, not coming from the inside of the door. I'm not a big fan of that. What I like to do is once I figure out what top is, I'm gonna go ahead and drill a hole through the side of this. Did you get that tweeter mounted?
Yes, sir.
Let's see. Alright, here's what the factory tweeter looks like. So what he did was router the hole into this bigger so that tweeter would pop right in. Now he's going to go ahead and mount it into place using this metal back piece here. It's going to go into the bolt, and then there's a wing nut. Go ahead and assemble those while we're all standing here watching. Pressure's on, Fernando. Alright, so there you go. Tweeter's mounted. Now all we have to do is solder in the crossovers, get it back in the car. Let's go ahead and put the foam on the outside. So here's what it looks like once it's mounted in place. The crossover is zip tied into the harness. There is a connection point here as well as a connection point here to remove the mid base if we need to. Got foam on it. Let's go ahead and get this last door on and get it out of here. All right, this Toyota's all done. Fernando.
Yes, sir. We're here. On to the next one.
All right, guys, next on the list is a Nissan Titan. What are we doing, Fernando?
Backup camera, front-facing camera.
That's a lot of fun. Let's get going. So for the backup camera, we're going to do our favorite camera, which is the EchoMaster Cam LF3, which is the awesome low light, really tiny, sexy camera. This is, of course, the one that is my favorite. That's gonna go in the back. For the front, we're gonna use the camera that comes with the 8201. So we're gonna figure out some place to put it up in here. Haven't figured that out yet. But here's the radio. We're also gonna retain his steering wheel controls using the SWIRC. We're gonna be using the best kits, BK-NDK 7312. All right, so let's get all these pieces apart, lay them out, figure out where everything's gonna go. Sound like fun?
Yes.
He's lying. This piece here is all we're concerned with removing. But when you're doing these, you wanna keep an eye on all this. Check this first, check this, because a lot of these crack and they'll have little micro cracks in here, and sometimes this grill is just destroyed. Now what you want to do is this guy here, this is the airbag light. We want to remove this and we want to plug it back in while we're working on this car. Now while we're in here, what we want to do real quick is this piece right here. We want to just go ahead and remove it. All right, now that we have it out, let's go ahead and go mount our radio in the dash kit. So we have the 8201 NEX. We have the Pioneer NDBC8 that it comes with. This comes with a main wiring harness right here. Then the camera itself has a pigtail wiring harness. It's actually pretty long. And then the camera is this little cube here. When you're putting one of these in, there's a little tiny dot right here on the top of the camera. When you're installing it, that is up. Don't put it like this. That's down. The other thing is these are non-reversible cameras, meaning if you're gonna put it in the front and it's a reverse image, your radio has to have the ability to flip the image. The NEX does, so that's not a big deal. Now inside the box for the 8201 is an 8200. If you didn't know this, the only difference between an 8200 and an 8201 is they give you a backup camera. All right, we're gonna leave this wrapped up in this until we're ready for it. Now we have all our parts spread out. We have our harness, that in the harness pile. The only thing we're missing is the harness for the backup camera, and that would be this. Fernando likes to wait until the last minute to give it to me. So we'll go ahead and add that over into our harness pile. So we're putting a backup camera in this, and anytime you put in a backup camera, you have to find the reverse light wire somewhere. There's two places you can get it in this truck. that are listed. One is in the passenger front kick panel, and the other one, of course, is obviously back here at the reverse light. Now, because we're already going to be back here wiring up the backup camera, it only makes sense for us to go ahead and tap into the reverse light right here, and then we'll go ahead and run this wire forward with our backup camera wire. Now, if you've never done this, what you want to do is use a digital multimeter like this, set to DC, put one of your probes to ground, and then connect the other one to the wire that you suspect is the reverse. And then go ahead and have someone put it in reverse and see what the meter reads. So that's with the reverse on, and that's with it off. Now, we get a ton of questions on backup cameras. This particular camera has a wiring harness that is provided with the camera. A lot of them have like an RCA, some of them have red wires. Either way, we're gonna run the reverse wire with the camera wires. Everything is coming forward into the front. We're not gonna power the camera off the reverse light or anything like that. The camera's gonna get powered off of accessory. And the reason for that is because these radios have the ability to view what's behind you when you're not in reverse. So you can see what's behind you and in front of you by simply selecting it from the source drop-down menu. We wanna make sure that feature works. We're gonna go ahead and keep this bag because we'll use it for the factory piece once we take it off, along with this foam bag here. Now, if your radio doesn't have the dual zone that go here, it comes with these two little plugs that go over these. Snap these in place like this. Now, this kit comes with a single DIN as well as a double DIN trim ring. And of course, it actually comes with 2 instruction manuals. Now, in the kit is this little bag here that has these metal clips, so make sure you don't lose that. Let's go ahead and unbox our SWIRC. Now, if you've never done one of these before, of course, it comes with a cool little brain box, and it comes with a stack of instructions. Let's hit these first because I know paperwork tends to freak people out. The first piece of paper is the SWIRC Universal Steering Wheel Control Interface Installation Instructions. This guy here is going to give you an overview of how to set it up, but really what we're looking for is this guy right here on the top of page 2. This is going to tell us how to set up the brain here for what type of radio we're doing. So, for example, we're doing a Pioneer, which is number 7. We're going to come over to this dial and we're going to turn it till it says number 7. Now, for the most part, we're done with this until the very end, so just put this somewhere safe. Next, you want to look at the Vehicle Installation Information Guide, or VIG. Here it gives a list of each manufacturer, the car you're working on, in the year. What you want to do is turn to yours. So in this case, we're doing a Nissan Titan. Now, this is an 06 Nissan Titan, so we're going to come over here and we're going to mark across our page. Now, what this is going to tell us is a couple things. First, on the harness, there's 2 loops. One is a brown and one is a purple loop. This is going to tell us if we need to cut either one of those. In this case, it's no on both. It's also going to tell us what interface wire we're going to use, which is white. It's going to tell us what interface plug we need to use, which is Titan, which we'll come back to in a second. Pins on the plug. This is the number we want right here. Version number is 3. This has to do with programming the unit once you're done. What you want to do is write it on the back of the unit, just like that, number 3. You'll need that later. The next that tells you which note, which is 198. Now we'll come over to the next stack of paper, which is another VIG, and we're going to turn to note 198. All right. Titan connection. Connect a 150 ohm resistor to pin 13, green, vehicle connector. And then connect to white. Connect the white interface to pin 12, red. Connect interfaces, black wire to pin 14. Now, we have 3 wires we're hooking up. One of them says 150 ohm. On this harness, what they've done is they've gone ahead and you want to grab the white wire. White wire is definitely the most used. You'll notice that there's 3 wires that it's split into. It has all this heat shrink on it. So there's a white black, and a white red. This little piece of paper here is what that referring to. Here, if we look where it says 150 ohm resistor, that's going to be the white red wire. So what we're going to end up using is the white and the white red. We don't actually have to solder in a resistor because it's already in here in this black heat shrink. We can twist those together, and that's really all you need this piece of paper for. Now, we had mentioned that Nissan Titan harness. That's this guy here. This is the VCC, Vehicle Connector Chart. What we want to do is turn to the page to where it says Nissan Titan, all the way back here on the bottom last page. Now what I like to do once I get to this page is write out what I'm going to be doing. The 150 ohm resistor, which is going to be the white red, we'll put WR, is going to connect to pin 13. we'll say 13, which is a green wire. We're gonna connect our white wire, pin 12, which is red, and then we're gonna come over here and we're gonna connect our black wire, which is ground, pin 14, which is blue or black. So looking at this harness, these 3 wires are all right here in this little group. So this is the most important thing we need. We're done with this guy here, so we can set this aside in case we need to look at it later. We're done with this guy here, we can set this aside just in case we need to look at it later. So now what we know is that we're hooking up 3 wires into the car and accessory and ground. Now the ground wire on these has a Y. It's split into 2. That's because we need one to go over here to this and then one to actually go to power and ground. So if you're one of those people that don't like to remove any wires from your harness, go ahead and just cut these remaining wires short. Otherwise, just go ahead and remove them from the harness. All right, now the last thing on this is this blue yellow wire, or this cool headphone jack looking wire. The headphone jack looking wire is what most radios need. This just plugs into the steering wheel control in the back. The blue yellow wire is gonna be for Kenwood or JVC. We're doing a Pioneer, we're not gonna need it. For that, we will just cut short, and then we'll just put a butt connector on it so that it doesn't tap anything and it's nice and insulated. All right, so we have this part of the operation prepped and ready to get wired into the harness. So we'll set this aside for now. All right, so now what we want to do is remove the hazard switch along with the 4 screws that are securing in the air conditioning controls. Once you've done that, just flip it over. Put your thumbs on these. Just give it a little push. It'll go ahead and pop out of the knobs. The last thing we want to do is go ahead here and get the airbag light off. Go ahead and flip it back over. Just kind of work it out, pushing it from the back side a little bit until it pops off like so. Go ahead and grab our new kit, stick it into place. Just like that. Now we're all set and done with this. We can go ahead and set this aside for right now, and we'll take a crack at this guy. Go ahead and put your hazard switch back in. Now on this particular install, the customer asked me, because it has these, the kit has these, they're like, oh, can I put my USB there? And the answer was no. There is a circuit board that goes all the way through here, so you do run the risk of potentially damaging this. That's up to you. All right, we'll go ahead and attach the knobs back in place. Flip it over. Go ahead and use the drill to get these screws started. Put our airbag screws in the kit so we don't lose them as we're working on it. And now we'll go ahead and tighten everything up with a regular screwdriver. Now, it, like I said, came with a bunch of clips. We're gonna save these clips till very last because we want to make sure we do some test fitting to make sure it fits. So we'll just set this aside for right now. All right, so looking at the factory radio, we know we're gonna need these sides and not these top and bottom. So we can go ahead and remove those. And these are going to snap into place. Just kind of start at an angle like this, and then just kind of put your thumbs there and straighten it out like that. Now this has a left and a right marked on it. Then we'll go ahead and get our screws in. As always, check your spacing. Make sure the radio is centered and not crooked. All right, so now let's go ahead and test fit this in the dash and make sure it sits back in far enough so that we can get the front panel on. There we go. All right, so the radio fit in the dash fine. This was kind of binding up, and what it was is these tips right here, these squared off for some weird reason. I just lightly sanded it, not even a 32nd of an inch here and here, and then it went right in. I'm guessing that there might be something wrong with the mold, or there's a little bit of burring or something. Let's continue the install. Front cameras are definitely becoming more and more popular, which is nice. Definitely adds a certain level of challenge to the install. You have to find some area to put it in and hide the wire. There's a couple different ideas that I'm working with here, but I think the winner is going to be this. There's a body retention clip that goes right here up into this hole that I removed. Now my thought is if I drill a hole through the center of this, I can then mount this here, put a piece of plastic on the back side so that I can go up into this and screw this into place. Yeah, I think that's gonna be the ticket. So right now what I want to do is drill a hole into this and then mount this up into place. All right, so we have the view of the front. I'm just trying to figure out if I was a parking where the curb would be. It would be about my thumb right there. We'll go ahead and tighten it up right there. Front camera's in. What we want to move on to now is the harness and getting all these pieces attached to each other. This case, what we have is a 2-plug system. The plug here is for rears. The plug here is for front as well as power. Now we have a whole bunch of stuff that needs to get in here. All this fun stuff here. So what we're going to do first is work on this side, the car side. This harness here has a ground and a remote turn on. And this side here has a ground and a power antenna. So what we want to do is take these into the car real quick and see if these are all there so that we know we need to hook them up. So let's take these into the car and just check side for side. All right, so there was no power antenna, so we can just go ahead and remove that from the harness. Now, Nissans are tricky when it comes to the grounds. A lot of the times what they do is they actually ground the stereo through the frame of the stereo when it screws in. And then the ground in the car is a weaker ground for whatever reason. So anytime you're doing a Nissan, and there again, sometimes Toyota, it's easier just to go ahead and add in a secondary ground that you can ground into the frame, because the kits are made out of plastic and that kind of steals that ground away. We'll go ahead and add in a secondary ground that we can ground to a piece of metal in the dash. Now we have 3 other grounds we need to add in. We have 2 cameras and the steering wheel control. Alright, so we have our grounds all set. We'll put a piece of heat shrink over that in a minute. Let's go ahead and get our accessory wires all hooked up. Alright, so we have all the peripheral stuff hooked up. Let's go ahead and hook up the main harness now. Alright, so our harness is all set and ready to go. We have our steering wheel controls. We have our feed for the front camera. Our rear camera is a harness already added. We have our reverse trigger wire. We have the 1/8 inch that's going to go into the steering wheel controls along with the factory harness and our reverse camera input. We have our steering wheel control output wires that are going to go into the car. And of course we have our ground wire. Now all we need to do is go back into the car and add these in. So let's go do that. For that, we are going to need these instructions. So we're going to take these and the harness into the car. All right, so the harness that we're looking for the steering wheels is this guy here. This is what was attached to this display here. We want to remove this so that we can get to the wiring. Now the 3 colors we're looking for are green, red, and blue or black in a tight little harness in the center, and they are right here. So we need to just strip these back and solder in the corresponding colors. So we got this giant bar back here. That's what we're going to go ahead and drill this into for our ground. Universal steering wheel control interface guide that we set aside at the beginning of this. We want to open it up. We want to go to this flow chart right here, and we want to hide it to where it just says Pioneer. Before we can program that, the 3 we wrote on the back, we need to program into that. Now to do that, you hold the button in, this little button on the side, you hold this button in while you turn the ignition on, then you go 1, 2, 3, and then you're gonna wait until this comes and blinks 3 times. 1, 2, 3. All right, so now it's programmed. So now we can go ahead and move on to programming the steering wheel controls. Now this guy here, what do we have, Fernando?
Volume up, volume down, source, power, up and down, track up, track and down.
All right, so what we'll do is we'll do volume up and down, obviously, track up and down, and then we'll do mode is source, and the power button, we'll make that VR for his Siri. So here we go. Ready? We got volume up, volume down, skip, 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 source, track up, track down, skip band, skip phone, skip answer, skip and voice. That should be it. All right, so this will blink a bunch of times to tell you that it's good. Go ahead and hit all the buttons. So now what we want to do is proceed to setup. Come into here and we'll go to camera settings, backup camera input on,
Second camera input.
second camera input on, and then we want to come down here where it says second camera reverse and parking guidelines adjust. Go ahead and do those real quick. Okay, we'll go back. All right, so now we should be able to put it in reverse. All right, let's go into park. Come to the drop-down menu. We'll hit camera view. We'll tap, and there's our front camera view. There's my lonely bucket. X out of that. Let's go ahead and hit eject. All right, let's go into the menu. Let's shut off the demo mode. Go ahead and press voice. What's the weather like today?
It's currently clear and 87 degrees.
All right. Now all we need to do is put the clips onto our aftermarket dash panel, and this thing's done. All right, let's take a look at the cameras and see how they turned out. All right, so there you go. Like I said, this camera is very slick looking. You can't even tell that there's a camera there. So that turns out really nice. Let's go see what the front one looks like. All right, so there you go. He'll be able to see the curbs in front of him. And then a close-up of the dash. So there you go. Doing that little grinding there made that fit nice and flush. Fernando.
On to the next one.